All right, listener, welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be looking at religious stories,
Okay.
but we're going to be going a little deeper than usual.
Deeper.
Yeah, we're going past just the surface level,
Oh, cool.
and trying to figure out what these stories mean on a
Hmm.
deeper level.
I like it.
And so we've got this excerpt here that we're going to be taking a look at, and
Mhm.
it basically challenges us to think about these stories,
Right.
even if we don't necessarily believe every single detail in them.
Yeah.
Literally, you know?
I,
So, like,
yeah.
have you ever thought about those old creation myths that ancient cultures came up with?
Sure.
Like, why did they explain the universe in these really, like, imaginative, almost fantastical ways?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's almost like they weren't trying to write, you know,
A textbook.
yeah, like a science textbook or something.
Right.
It seems like they were using the symbolic language to try to get at these deeper questions, like where did we come from?
The big question.
Yeah, the really big ones. What's our purpose? What happens after we die?
Right.
And these stories actually provide like frameworks
Frameworks.
for exploring these parts of human existence.
I like that, frameworks for exploring human existence.
Yeah.
So what does that look like in practice? Like, does the source give us any example
Sure.
of a particular story and how it's a framework?
Well, you could look at like the story of Adam and Eve.
Okay.
It's not really meant to be like a literal history
Right.
of how humans began. It's more about providing a framework for understanding things like temptation
Oh, sure.
and choice and the consequences of actions.
Right.
So it's really looking at
Yeah.
the human condition, like our capacity for both good and evil,
Yeah.
which is something that goes beyond specific cultures or time periods.
It's so interesting to think that we might be missing
Yeah.
so much if we just focus on the literal details.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when I was younger reading the story of Noah's Ark,
Oh, yeah.
and I got so hung up on how could he possibly fit all of those animals
Right. All those animals on the boat.
onto one boat,
Yeah.
and I completely missed like
Great point.
the deeper message about faith
Yeah.
and like renewal.
Totally. And the source even warns us about that.
Does it?
Yeah, it cautions us against like applying these rigid standards.
Rigid standard.
Yeah, of physical reality to these stories.
Right.
It's not about taking them as like scientific fact.
Right.
It's more about understanding that symbolic depth.
So how should we be approaching these stories then?
Well, it's about recognizing the power of metaphor and symbolism.
Okay.
These stories use these really vivid images and these archetypal figures
Okay.
to explore these really complex truths about human nature,
Yeah.
morality, and our relationship with the divine.
So instead of asking, did this literally happen?
Right.
We should be asking, what can this story teach me
Exactly.
about myself and about like
About the human condition.
humanity in general?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like these stories are less about the events themselves
Mm-hmm.
and more about these enduring lessons they're trying to teach.
Listen.
Like the parables of Jesus come to mind.
Yeah.
They often use these really simple stories that anyone can relate
Uh-huh.
to teach these profound ethical ideas.
Yeah.
Like, one that always stuck with me was the story of the Good Samaritan.
Oh, sure.
It taught me about compassion and helping people in need,
Yeah.
no matter who they are or what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that ethical lesson has really stuck with me.
Absolutely. And that gets to what the source was saying about moral development.
Okay.
These religious stories, even with the fantastical elements,
Yeah.
they offer these timeless wisdoms
Yeah.
about things like compassion, forgiveness, justice.
Hmm.
These values go beyond specific beliefs
Right.
and are still so relevant.
Yeah, totally. And these stories, they connect us to past generations.
You do.
By passing down these values and this cultural wisdom,
Yeah.
it's like they create a sense of shared history
Mm.
and identity.
It's like the source said they resonate across time,
Yeah.
connecting us to the experiences of those who came before us.
And giving us a sense of belonging
Yeah.
in a larger tradition.
Yeah.
So it seems like what we can take away from all this
Yeah.
is that even if we don't take every single word literally,
Mm-hmm.
these stories are still a really powerful way
Yeah.
to look at the human experience.
Absolutely.
They make us think about these really big questions
Big questions.
about morality and purpose
Yeah.
and our connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. And as you go and explore these stories,
Yeah.
I would challenge you to think about this.
Okay.
What if, instead of getting caught up in whether these events actually happened,
Yeah.
we focus on those deeper truths that they're getting at?
I like that.
What wisdom could we find about ourselves and the world around us?
Yeah, it's something to think about for sure. Thanks for joining us for another Deep Dive Listener. We'll see you next time.
See you later.